Hi, morning guys. This is me. I know it's the first time I've done a video with me on the camera, so slightly just trying to get cleared up and get the. I know this is a Peugeot channel, the 309 channel, but doing the Fiesta at the moment, trying to get ready for the MOT. And the problem is the fuel. I think there's a problem with emissions, so I was just trying to. Alexa, stop! I was just trying to read up on the fuel injection system for the Ford Fiesta 2000 Zetec S. So I've got the manual out. It's obviously it's a bit more advanced than the Peugeot, but I just thought we could go through it. Obviously, if any Fiesta people, I'm going to update the name of the channel. So today, just going to go through Ford Fiesta Zetec S 2000 1.6 litre. It's the fuel chapter 4A, fuel and exhaust system, petrol engine models. I'm just going to read out the general information because I thought it was quite interesting, and then try and do some more. I'm going to do some more videos today on the Bosch one. Also got some interesting. This is a bit old, this book, but there's some interesting information in there about the fuel injection systems. So this is the Fiesta's a 2000, year 2000. So I'm just going to read out. I've done some more diagrams to add on later on. If I just read this out to start with, this will be the first video in the series. Yeah, it's on this. Let's have a look. Okay then, so get started with this. It should be you should be seeing the front cover now. Just check that. That's yeah. So you can see it's a Ford Fiesta, got a year 2000 model, W reg. So it's probably not gonna pass the MOT, but I just wondered about the fuel injection. So just gonna read out the information on the. Oh yeah, here we go. Just on the general information precautions. Quite interesting. Some of it was like a little bit similar to the Peugeot. You know, the sensors on the fuel pump. It's not obviously a Bosch, but so if I just read this out, this will be the first video in the series. So I just get into it. So it says general information and precautions. General information. The fuel system consists of a fuel tank mounted under the body beneath the rear seats. So that's exactly like the Peugeot. I'll just take this up as I'm going through it. Fuel hoses, an electric fuel pump mounted in the fuel tank, and a sequential electronic fuel injection system controlled by an EECV, I think that means 5, series 5, engine management electronic control unit, powertrain control module. The electric fuel pump supplies fuel under pressure to the fuel rail, which distributes fuel to the injectors. A pressure regulator controls the system pressure in relation to the inlet track depression. From the fuel rail, fuel is injected. I'm about there now. About here. From the fuel rail, fuel is injected into inlet ports just above the inlet valves by 4 fuel injectors. On the Endura E engine, a plastic moulded fuel rail is fitted, whereas on the Zetec SE engine, the fuel rail is of aluminium alloy. The Endura E fuel rail is mounted on the inlet manifold, and the Zetec SE fuel rail is mounted in the cylinder head. The amount of fuel supplied by the injectors is precisely controlled by the powertrain control module, so that's called the PCM. I need to add a diagram actually to help understand it, but done like a very rough one, but it's so rough at the moment. I'll come back to it, I think. The amount of fuel supplied by the injectors is precisely controlled by the PCM. The module uses the signals from the crankshaft position sensor and the camshaft position sensor to trigger each injector separately in cylinder firing order, sequential injection, with benefits in terms of better fuel economy and leaner exhaust emissions. The powertrain control module is the heart of the entire engine management system, controlling the fuel injection, ignition, and emissions control system. The module receives information from various sensors, which is then computed and compared with preset values stored in its own memory to determine the required period of injection. So that's like the fuel map. So we're down to here now. That was that little, let's see, that was paragraph 1, 2, 3. That was paragraph 4. Information on crankshaft position and engine speed is generated by a crankshaft position sensor. The inductive head of the sensor runs just above the engine flywheel and scans a series of 36 protrusions on the flywheel periphery. So I think actually the Peugeot had one of them, but it was similar to this, but they just had it for diagnosis. It wasn't part of the actual fuel injection system. It was just used for diagnosis. As the crankshaft rotates, the sensor transmits a pulse to the system's ignition module every time a protrusion passes it. There is one missing protrusion in the flywheel periphery at a point corresponding to 90 degrees before top dead center. The ignition module recognizes the absence of a pulse from the crankshaft position sensor at this point to establish a reference mark for the crankshaft position. Similarly, the time interval between absent pulses is used to determine engine speed. The information is then fed to the powertrain control module for further processing. On the Zetec SE engine, the camshaft position sensor is located in the cylinder head so that it registers with a lobe on the camshaft. On the Enduro E engine, it is located on the timing cover and registers with a plate beneath the camshaft sprocket retaining bolts. The camshaft position sensor functions in the same way as the crankshaft. So I'm on to column 2 here. Sprocket retaining bolts here. The camshaft position sensor functions in the same way as the crankshaft position sensor, producing a series of pulses. This gives the powertrain control module a reference point to enable it to determine the firing order and operate the injectors in the appropriate sequence. The mass airflow sensor is based on a hot wire system, sending the powertrain control module a constantly varying analog voltage system corresponding to the mass of air passing into the engine. Since air mass varies with temperature, cold air being denser than warm, measuring air mass provides the module with a very accurate means of determining the correct amount of fuel required to achieve the ideal fuel mixture ratio. So this is different from the Peugeot, because the Peugeot has a mass debit meter, so that's like a flap gate, just measures the volume, not the temperature. Yeah, so this is like a different different air mass flow system. Engine temperature information is supplied by the coolant temperature sensor, or on certain later Zetec SE engines by a cylinder head temperature sensor. Both components are NTC, negative temperature coefficient. So that is like the Peugeot thermistors. That is a semiconductor whose electrical resistance decreases as its temperature decreases. The sensor provides the powertrain control module with a constantly varying analog voltage system corresponding to the temperature of the engine coolant or a cylinder head as applicable. This is used to refine the calculations made by the module when determining the correct amount of fuel required to achieve the ideal airflow mixture ratio. So I read that sentence again. This is used to refine the calculations made by the module when determining the correct amount of fuel required to achieve the ideal fuel-air mixture ratio. While the coolant temperature sensor measures the temperature of the engine coolant, the cylinder head temperature sensor is seated in a blind hole in the cylinder head and measures the temperature of the metal directly. Inlet air temperature information is supplied by the inlet air temperature sensor. This component is also an NTC thermistor, see the previous paragraph, providing the module with a signal corresponding to the temperature of air passing into the engine. This is used to refine the calculations made by the module when determining the correct amount of fuel required to achieve the ideal air-fuel mixture ratio. On later Enduro E and 1.25 litre Zetec SE engines, inlet air temperature and density information for air-fuel mixture ratio calculations is provided by a temperature and manifold absolute pressure TMAP sensor. The TMAP sensor is located in the inlet manifold and consists of a pressure transducer and a temperature sensor which directly replaces the mass outflow and inlet temperature sensors. The T-map sensor provides information to the power control module relating to the inlet manifold vacuum and barometric pressure and the temperature of the air in the inlet manifold. When the ignition is switched on with the engine stopped, the sensor calculates barometric pressure, and when the engine is running, the sensor calculates inlet manifold vacuum. So I'm going to go through this and do some diagrams after this, because I know, so it's a bit hard to understand, and I didn't realise just a massive block, this massive block of text. But now I haven't got the diagrams ready yet, so please can you come back I'll read through the diagrams on the next video. A throttle position sensor is mounted on the end of the throttle valve spindle to provide the powertrain control module with a constantly varying analog voltage signal corresponding to the throttle opening. This allows the module to register the driver's input when determining the amount of fuel required by the engine. Road speed is monitored by the vehicle speed sensor. This component is a Hall effect generator mounted on the transmission speedometer drive. It supplies the module with a series of pulses corresponding to the vehicle's road speed, enabling the module to control features such as the fuel shut off on overrun. The clutch pedal position is monitored by a switch fitted to the pedal bracket. This sends a signal to the powertrain control module. Where power steering is fitted, a pressure operated switch is screwed into the power steering system's high pressure pipe. The switch sends a signal to the powertrain control module to increase engine speed to maintain idle speed during power steering assistance. The oxygen sensor in the exhaust system provides the module with constant feedback closed loop control. So that's something my Peugeot hasn't got, which enables it to adjust the mixture to provide the best possible operating conditions for the catalytic converter. The air inlet side of the system consists of an air cleaning housing, the mass airflow sensor, an inlet hose and duct, and a throttle housing. The throttle valve inside the throttle housing is controlled by the driver through the accelerator pedal. As the valve opens, the amount of air that can pass through the system increases. As the throttle valve opens further, the mass airflow sensor signal alters, and the powertrain control module opens each injector for a longer duration to increase the amount of fuel delivered to the inlet ports. Both the idle speed and the mixture are under the control of the powertrain control module and cannot be adjusted. So the idle speed and the mixture are under the control of the powertrain control module and cannot be adjusted. So that's like on the Peugeot you could deal with the screws, but you can't deal with this. So it just says just reading the last paragraph, the last little section, which is the warnings, precautions, warning. Many of the procedures in this chapter require the removal of the fuel lines and connections, which may result in some fuel spillage. Before carrying out any operation on the fuel system, refer to the precautions given in Safety First at the beginning of this manual and follow them implicitly. Petrol is a highly dangerous and volatile liquid, and the precautions necessary when handling it cannot be overstressed. I know from when I did my tube lines course for the underground work, it said the flash point of petrol is -40 degrees, so just be careful. Note, residual pressure will remain in the fuel lines long after the vehicle was last used. When disconnecting any fuel line, first depressurize the fuel system as is described in section 2. So I'll come on to that in the next video. So there's just one other thing I wanted to add in this video. Fuel lines and fittings. I'll do another video on it, but it's on so it's on page that was page 4A2, but there's a note on section 4A7 that says limited operation strategy. That's like one of the features of the management system. It says here, I can't show you, but I'll read it out. Limited operation strategy. Certain faults, such as failure of one of the engine management system sensors, will cause the system will revert to a backup or limp home mode, referred to by Ford as limited operation strategy, LOS. This is intended to be a get you home facility only. The engine management warning light will come on when this mode is in operation. In this mode, the signal from the defective sensor is substituted with a fixed value. It would normally vary, which may lead to loss of power, poor idling, and generally poor running, especially when the engine is cold. However, the engine may in fact run quite well in this situation, and the only clue other than the warning light would be that the exhaust CO emissions, for example, would be higher than they should be. So that's what I got. Bear in mind that even if the defective sensor is correctly identified and renewed, the engine will not return to normal running until the fault code is erased, taking the system out of loss. This also applies even if the cause of the fault was a loose connection or damaged piece of wire. Until the fault code is erased, the system will continue in low. So I was thinking like that could be like the why I'm having the CO2 the problem. I think also it can be, there's so many other things it could be, but is it troubleshooting? The troubleshooting section is, oh, it hasn't got it here, but I think like the troubleshooting section might be the exhaust as well. So there's quite a lot of it, because on the last I had a warning about the CO emission, so hopefully I can get to the bottom of what's going on. I've got the exhaust gas engine analyzer, but it's the Ford. I'll have to go through some more videos on this to get it sorted out. So that was the Ford Fiesta 2000 for my Ford Fiesta 2000 Zetec S with a 1.6 injection Zetec S engine. I'm not sure if it's the SE. Using the manual from October 1995 to 2001, N registration onwards, petrol and diesel, from the Haynes service manual. So hopefully, get me back on here. Hopefully, oh yeah, here we go. Hopefully, you found that video useful. Oh yeah, I can just show that. So I was paid. Yeah, the limited operation strategy. Limited operation strategy is on page 4A7. So hopefully that will be. I'll cover that in the next video, along with some of the diagrams. I've got some of the. I've got this other French manual, which on the Peugeot, and I've translated that, so I'm going to be going through that on my channel as well. So hopefully that will be good. And then it shows you here about checking all of the component in the Haynes manual. In the other page, it's got like throttle position sensor, checking it, where is it, and how to remove it, stuff, cylinder head temperature sensor, and all that. So hopefully, I'm going to start with a series of videos. The weather's not very good today, so this is a good chance for me to catch up on my videos. So hopefully, please can you like and subscribe to the channel? Can you like this video and subscribe to the channel? I need to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can try and monetize the channel to get some money back. You know, with things being a bit tight and stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. I haven't done the diagrams yet, but they're going to be done as soon as possible. But hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.